Welcome everybody to a new episode of Flower Circus Talks. I'm very excited. Today we've got an award-winning person. We've got Leon Kluge, the man who's born between the plants, with a grandfather who was curator of two botanical gardens. His mother was also running a wholesale nursery. So we can say he has a long history of plants. For me, he's also let's call him the Steve Irwin of plants, with his adventures hunting for plants with his safaris. So and of course his great garden designs. So let's quickly invite him into the live stream and let him tell all about his adventures, his designs, and especially how he loves the plants and how good he can talk about it. So please welcome Mr. Leon Kluge into the live stream. Welcome.
Hi everybody. Yeah, nice to chat to you.
Yeah, how are you, first of all?
No, I'm great. Yeah, just cold here in South Africa. It doesn't look like it. I'm in the warehouse, but it's freezing. The mountain's full of snow.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Africa, which is always strange.
Yeah, you thought it was snowing yesterday, right?
Yes, lots of snow. Yeah, freezing cold.
And here it's warm. You can see it. It's 30 degrees over here. So
yeah,
but
I'm
here
jealous.
it's some. Yeah, but soon it will be the other way around.
Yeah.
So first of all, for the people who don't know you, can you tell a little bit more about yourself?
Well, I'm a plantsman first of all, but I represent Africa on the show garden stage first. So that is the Chelsea Flower Show, Singapore Flower Show, Philadelphia Flower Show, New Zealand, Japan, all over the country. So I go around and I showcase our fauna and flora, basically our flora, on the big stages where we create show gardens and also displays, and also wanting to show the world South Africa has got such a rich floral kingdom, and so many of them, little kingdoms all intertwined together, and so many of the plants on your shelves, on your flower shelves, and even in your nurseries, come from here in the southern tip of Africa. And when we do the flower shows, it's almost guaranteed that nobody would know that it actually is from South Africa. They mostly would guess it's from Australia.
Yeah.
So so that's a big part of my passion, is to educate not only international people about our special flora down here, but also the local guys here in South Africa. You just drive to work and you drive back, but there's an incredible amount of flowers just next to the road.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and the way you present them as well. Later on, there's a video of the Chelsea Flower Show, which I want to show at the end, where we can see a great. I think it was over 100 square meters, right? That you made over there last year.
Yeah, I think we were just about 125 squares,
Wow.
which was one of our biggest we have done yet.
Yeah.
But then also I'm a landscape designer, so I do big landscape projects, and also I'm a writer, so I do write for landscaping magazines or do short little TV splits locally.
Yeah, wow, it's unbelievable. I quickly want to show the people as well some of your designs. Maybe you can tell a bit more about it. I will hide myself so that we can see it better.
So this was one of my first Singapore flower show gardens. This was kind of how to show how nature and architecture blends together to create this beautiful piece. It was a enormously difficult garden to do, this one. It was so hot and so many problems, but in the end it came out beautifully, really, really nice. And there we won gold and also best lighting.
Yeah,
that's some of the plants. So that is the South African foxglove. And what we do with the show gardens is, because I try to encourage African plants, so I would harvest seed, whether it's from Kirstenbosch Seed Bank or from farms where we can harvest, and I would send them over about a year in advance to countries where we're going to do the show, and then they start growing the seed. So this was grown in Malaysia for the Singapore
Yeah.
Flower Show, and
Wow.
yeah, just worked out beautifully. And now they use this plant commercially there.
Wow. So it's yeah. Even they start working with it after that.
Yeah, yeah. So this was we had our compost that we got for this garden was way too fresh, and so it was boiling hot, and it actually the tree right in front of you is a melaleuca, and it started to shed its leaves, and it panic stations galore. So I had to improvise, and you also then, if when you improvise, that's always with a show garden. You have plan A, B, and C, and you see
Yeah.
how you're going to go to where it's going to lead you. And then I had to improvise, and then actually take off each and every leaf of a melaleuca, which is it's a feat in itself.
Yeah.
To actually have a tree without leaves, and then we changed the story of how um, the human interaction with nature causes a lot of issues. So that's kind of with show gardens, you have to adapt all the time.
Yeah.
Things do go wrong sometimes.
I can imagine it was very, very stressful at the time.
Yeah, but it's kind of a adrenaline rush, right?
Yeah. 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 It
And
is.
yeah, that's the platform on top, and then we had the water falling over, and it's into a thumbprint, kind of hidden water feature in between the different colored rice plants, and that kind of was a human fingerprint on the
Yeah. Okay.
natural landscapes.
Yeah. I can see you're using a lot of water as well in your designs.
Yeah, I do, because I do love the sound. So when you do flower shows, there's a lot of people at the show, and the gardens are very close to one another. So when you stand at my garden and you look, and you usually can smell South African plants and flowers,
Yeah.
I want the sound also to envelop you towards my garden. I don't want you to be distracted by sounds from different gardens or from people chatting at the garden next door. So that's also just a trick into to yeah have you embrace the garden better.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was a prize-winning garden as well,
Yes,
right?
yes,
I
yes.
mean, it seems like all the gardens you make are prize-winning gardens, and I'm not surprised if I see the designs. Uh,
Touch wood.
so later, or maybe it was last year, you know better than me. This was again Singapore, right?
Yeah, so I was invited back, kind of to defend my title, and this time they put me in the fantasy category, which is the same size, but it's inside. It's actually spectacular. It's a big marquee, huge thing, but it's blacked out. So if you enter the marquee, this big tent, you
Yeah,
can't see your hand in front of your face. So they say you create this fantasy garden using plants and lights to tell your story. And so it was me, I was South Africa, America, England, Japan, Singapore, the few other countries too, that was now competing in this section. And mine was called African Thunder because in Africa, which was a difficult one, because in Singapore there's a thunderstorm almost every evening. So how am I
yeah,
going to make it different to Singaporeans or the local people coming to see the gardens, and make the thunder kind of intriguing to them? So I had this landscape of all African plants, and African plants that actually grow together, not where they grow naturally. So it was quite tricky. And having this thunderstorm coming over the savannah, where it's dry behind it, in front of it, and then
yeah,
as the storm comes by with lighting and thunder and African music, a whole theatrical experience. And then in the when the rain passes, it's green at the back of it, and so the animals come back and hunting can start again, which is so important in a big part of Africa.
yeah.
Yeah, so that is one of
Well,
the
and
lighting sculptures are baobabs. So I made out of rice paper and out of twigs. I made these baobabs with African patterns on, and those were the subtle mood lights in the garden, and
Okay.
just create that warmth of the garden.
Yeah.
And the thunder is could be a little bit cold, so I had to offset that.
Yeah. It's really it's one of my favorite trees, the baobab. I've seen them in Zanzibar. It was really great to see them.
It's fantastic, and in Africa,
Yeah.
it's such a strong symbol of, wisdom and age. So when we do gardens, it's usually a very strong element in
Yeah.
a garden.
Yeah. And how do you try to tell the stories of the plants and the and everything? How do you try to attract the people or the consumers who are watching there? How do you want to tell the story? How do
So
you do it?
see, that is the tricky part, because that is how the judges judge your garden. They come to your space without you even close, never even talking to them, and then they want to hear that story after. So they look at the garden, and after they will read the story, and that must be exactly portrayed as what they understood from the theatrical experience.
Yeah.
So that all started with this garden. It started with a slow beat of drum, African drums starting, and that is in the mornings early. We have this warm light, and mist rising out of the savannah, and that's usually
Yeah.
very cold. In the savannah, it is freezing, and the water ices over in the mornings, and then it heats up rapidly, and the steam rises, and then by about, we call it staatsreën, government rain, because at 4 o'clock, when government offices close, the thunderstorm happens, and then the color of the garden slowly changes, and the drama erupts into this thunder experience, and the lighting too. And then also, we have interesting stories in between too. So like the dung beetle. It's an extremely important part of African ecology, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so and especially for the baobab. And we have the little dung beetle and the dry, cracked earth, and also telling the story visually of how the dung beetle then, distributes baobabs and things. I'm sure there are a lot of people that see different stories in the
Yeah.
garden, but hopefully most of them are portrayed in that way.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
No,
really
that's the
great.
dung beetle. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I was
it's a
quickly
very
looking for
small
it.
part, but it was a very important part in the garden, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think people don't really realize how important they are.
No, but then
And
it's really nice to tell about it.
yeah, but like I said, with the plants, it's very, very tricky, because I don't want to, when I do a show, say in the tropics, I don't want to use plants that's used everywhere there. So
Yeah.
that is why I send seed over. I go in a tuk-tuk in Thailand. I rent a car, and I drive over into Malaysia, into the high, drier, cooler areas where I can see where they grow aloes and euphorbias and all of those interesting grasses, African grasses, to get it to my garden. And even the trees, although that's not the African olive,
Yeah. Yeah.
we have subspecies africana down here in Cape Town, but we got those trees from Barcelona, so we shipped them in all the way from Spain for our garden there in Singapore. So it does take over a year to plant that garden, and it's
Yeah.
only there for about 6 days.
Unbelievable. I mean, and all the planning you had for this year. Yeah, let's hope
Yeah.
next year everything can continue again. But I can imagine you are telling plants are coming everywhere. You have to send seeds. You have to do everything or plan it in advance. It's unbelievable.
Next year is going to be busy because all the shows now converge into one season. So
Yeah,
it's going to be a show
yeah.
garden extravaganza.
Yeah, and again, what I liked in that particular Singapore exhibition, that from the point of light, the water was falling down, and I can
Mm.
see here it was quite an impressive construction as well to make.
Yeah, so we had this big cage that we built, and then they were clearing big areas next to the roads, and there were lots of branches lying there. So when I arrived there, I saw that, and I said, that is what I want. So we made
Yeah,
this cage out of mesh, and we just cut thousands of little branches that was lying next to the roads and put them in as this cloud, kind of erupting. But it also gives you those spikes that where we have the sun behind the clouds, so you get those spikes out of the clouds, and
Yeah.
that's also what it represents. And then we had the machine to create the thunder inside, the sound inside, and the rain falling down. So it was quite an
Wow.
intricate thing. We had huge underneath the garden, which you can't see, is a massive cage or a little room where all the
Yeah.
computers were controlling this garden.
Yeah. Wow. Unbelievable. I mean, and yeah,
Because
like I,
another thing for the show gardens, especially fantasy gardens, they time you when it comes to People's Choice and all of those awards. The time they look at people and time them. How long do they stay captivated and stare at your garden?
yeah.
So that's also, so you have to be out there.
Wow. It's really beautiful. I mean, yeah, and to think of those things and to come up with those, yeah, you have to be really creative as well. Of course, you have a lot of different varieties. Maybe you have even too many varieties to show because you want to show everything, of course. But
Yeah, the garden do change. So you start out with this ideal design, and usually it's budget first of all. Budget
yeah,
comes into play, and then other elements too. And slowly but surely, the garden do morph into something. That's why at show gardens they give you time to about, I think, a month before installation to adapt your designs, because
okay,
it does happen. Yeah, things do
yeah.
change.
And also here, again, prize winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did yeah, it was very, very nice. We won best on show, and we won best planting, and best, I think, design. I don't know, there were quite a few things, but it was very, very special. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the highlights of my career, I must say.
Okay. And another, I think, for the Europeans, everybody knows the Chelsea Flower Show. We already talked about it a little bit. You had a fantastic garden over there as well.
Yeah, so the Chelsea Flower Show for us is different. We're different to anybody else really at the show, and for the viewers that's been there, it's you'll understand. So we're in the Grand Marquee, so it's this
Yeah.
huge tent, and we have one of the biggest stands there. We are 10 by 10 square meters, and then the topography goes up as well. And we bring every single thing that you see on that stand, from the grains of sand to the leaf litter, is brought over from South Africa to the Chelsea Flower Show. So the amount of paperwork we go through to get everything cleared and done right is enormous. It's absolutely enormous. But for us, it's essential to have the right plants associated with the right surrounding materials too.
Yeah.
So we send over 3 containers of cut flowers, mostly proteas and then some other plants, over to Chelsea a week before, which is usually
Yeah.
still in our rainy season. So sometimes it's raining and then we can't get the plants cut from the farms. Last with that show, we actually they offloaded our flowers on the airplane when we flew because they were overloaded. And that
Oh,
put our whole installation backwards by 2 days, which we only have a maximum of 5 days, usually only 4, to create that garden. But we go and harvest, and we make sure that we get very, very interesting plants and flowers in that garden. Last year's species was about 180 different species from the Western
wow.
Cape, which is incredible for that small little space.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a display worth visiting,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, that's for sure. And the nice thing is you're also showing not only the plants, but also the culture.
Yeah, to me that's very, very important. I mean, we are very vibrant in flowers, but our people in South Africa, we are just as vibrant and just as diverse too. And for me, that goes hand in hand. So as you'll see in the display, we have our rivulets, so those big, it's actually Ndebele hats that I used the shape of that, and that was our rivulets and the water falling through those big drums at the back of the lady there.
Oh, wait. 1 second. Yeah, we're back again. Sorry,
Okay.
wrong button.
Yeah, at least they're actually my bosses, and they surprised me, and they all brought their traditional wear to the show as well, and there was such a hit. People loved it, absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's really great. I wanted to show this picture, and then something went wrong. Let me see if I can find it again. Yeah, this was what you were telling about with all the
Yes, so
vibrant colors.
yeah, so the front bit that you're seeing now was Table Mountain, and then the rivulets are those drums going down with the fynbos. And on the back side of the mountain, I represented the Magaliesberg, which is Gauteng, which is the northern parts of Southern Africa.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the tricky part with that, South Africa has got two rainy seasons. So the southern part of South Africa, we have winter rain. So everything is in flower then, but the northern parts is dry at that time. So it's very tricky to get flowers for the northern parts of South Africa displayed on the garden. And we actually lost that container. It was not released by customs. So no
Yeah.
aloes.
Yeah, it always comes with challenges. I mean, we've got the same with Flower Circus with some of the shows, but they either already sold the flowers because they were so nice, or they forgot
Yeah.
about it, or always something happens. Actually, we
Yeah,
got quite an interesting question from Wouter Duivenstein. Hi, Leon. Is landscaping trends changing due to Corona?
well, definitely the vegetables and the home eating plants that you can harvest for your home is definitely stronger now in a
Yeah,
garden setting, especially in South Africa, because we couldn't, it was more tricky to find any fresh greens. I think that is a big push. And also, people realize how important a green space is. So I think
yeah,
when a lot of people, if they can afford it, now they would look not only at the kitchen, but also at the green space in the backyard, that it's not
yeah,
too small. So if something like this were to happen, the children still have a place to play and be outside and stretch.
yeah, yeah.
A piece of
That's
lawn
totally
is like gold.
Yeah, yeah. And talking about children and playing outside, I've found a great picture. You sent me one of the great picture. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
this
Yeah,
is
so
just great fun.
sometimes I play around.
Yeah, and you got quite a lot of those things. I will show some, and maybe you can comment them as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
I do that. Sometimes I'm just being silly. I've done that for magazines too, where I do like this is all our pesticides and all our chemicals, and then how what they do to our environment, like what is herbicides,
yeah,
and very prevalent here. And this was done. This display and this feature was done for the effects of herbicide on our fynbos here in this area.
yeah. It's really powerful message like that.
Yeah, yeah,
This looks like
yeah.
Easter time.
So this is just maybe being silly, but this is no matter how hard and tough you might seem on the outside, we all have that very soft and fuzzy side to us.
Yeah. Wow. It's really nice. And then yeah, this as well. It was waving 2.0, I think.
Yes. So this is sculptures I made from willow, and it reflects. This is actually adenium, so impala lilies that I
Yeah.
made sculptures of those plants, and the front rosettes that you see that is weaved in between, that is protea seeds. So when they've been
Okay.
through a fire, they burst open, and that's what you get.
Okay. Wow. And again here, some eggs. Wow.
Yeah,
It's
this is it's kind of born this way, right? We're each individual.
yeah. Wow. And I've got this one as well. Like this one.
Yeah, that is so. They are so passports and masks. It's so unique. I love them. This I actually did in France, and
Yeah.
each mask, each little figure tells you everything about you. Your parents. Are you married? how many siblings do you have? How many children do you have? All your status in the village and what village you come from. It's quite astounding.
Yeah. Wow.
That's why it's called a passport mask because it
Yeah.
tells everything about you.
Okay. Talking about France, you also were doing a project over there, or are
Yeah,
doing it.
we were busy for quite a while, and I was supposed to go and finish it, and lockdown happened exactly at that time. So we finished it through basically Skype with people that we assembled to to do the paint work that I needed to be done, to do
Yeah.
the concrete work that I had to be done, and the planting. It's not 100% how I want it, and when lockdown is over, I will go back and do exactly my little tits and bits that I need to add.
Yeah.
But it came out well, and it opened to the public about 3 or 4 weeks ago in Chaumont-sur-Loire. It's a great show. If you've ever been to the Chaumont show, it's just fantastic. And here we are very blessed that this is a permanent installation. So this will be in the Chaumont grounds for the foreseeable future, which
Yeah.
is very,
Wow.
very special
Yeah.
indeed.
And you're not only doing shows; you're also doing some designs. This was, I think, South Africa, if I'm correct.
Yes, this is in Cape
Just
Town.
yeah.
So yeah, it's just it's a garden for. She loves flowers. She loves a little soft, flowery meadow, low meadow, and there are lots of things to eat too in that garden. Doesn't look like it on the picture, but there are loads of things to eat. And yeah, it's a nice garden. Yeah, this one is in the northern parts, Mozambique, and it's got the most beautiful, stunning view over the Kruger Park, and so the animals are right there down there in the valley. It's quite impressive. It's really nice, stunning view. I
Wait.
can't hear
Yeah.
anything. Hope I'm
Now
not
you
too.
can hear me again, I
Is it
think.
okay? Great.
Oh wait, 1 second. Um,
Technology. I'm
yeah.
not great at it though.
Back again. It's too warm here, so
But,
that's why my head is boiling.
okay.
Making mistakes with pushing the wrong buttons, but we're back again. At the moment, you're also working on a project in South Africa, right?
Yes, we're working on quite a few projects. We're doing a huge, big healing garden and edible farm, which is belongs to Dutch clients, and it's just the
Okay.
most stunning garden. It's a heritage farm in South Africa, a very important farm, and one of the most beautiful farms in the country. So it's very special to work here at the moment.
Yeah.
In a year's
And
time, the garden will be done. So.
okay. And do you have any problems because of the coronavirus that things get delayed, or can you just do your work, or just, but can you do your work?
So, yeah, no, we definitely had delays. That's without a doubt. But I was lucky enough to be stuck coronaed on the farm, so I never
Yeah.
left the farm. So
Okay.
we could work. We established a big nursery on the farm because we need so much plants and we need weird and interesting plants, which we can't buy. So we're growing all of it from seed and cuttings. And so we actually had a very productive um, Corona time. So with other projects, yes, we are behind definitely,
Yeah.
but on this one, I think we're quite on schedule.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. And the other big thing, and this is how I got to know you, are your plant safaris.
Yes, that's my passion. So
Yeah. How did that
all the
start?
flowers. I've always loved flowers. Like I said, when I was little, my dad was the curator of a botanical garden. My granddad, the curator of a adjacent botanical garden. So we had weekends. I did not go to the movies. I went on flower tramps. So we would also find orchids, or we go on whatever hunting it would be, and that
Yeah.
never left. And it's so when I do the videos of the plants, it's never planned. It's always, if I see something next to the road or where I walk or where I work, then I will do something.
Yeah,
But there's so much in South Africa, and especially in the Western Cape, that you never struggle to find anything. But these plants, especially here, have such unique adaptations to survive, whether they're getting weird pollinators or whether they are storing water or have poisons on them. They each have a unique story, and a lot of these plants are not known to the local people. And now it's getting quite popular, and people enjoy the videos and enjoy the story or the tales of each of the blommetjies, each of the flowers that we chat about.
yeah. That's what you see. That's a side effect, I think, of the corona. That people got more interest in gardening again, in flowers and plants, and now
Yeah.
it's the time to tell them those stories as well. I mean,
Yeah, and
there are
people are
so
starved. In Cape Town, people are starved to go out to the mountain. I mean, a lot of the people in Cape Town don't have gardens. So the mountain is their backyard. So whether they want a bit of green space, they will run up the mountain. And they didn't have that for almost half a year. So now they appreciate those flowers a lot more, and they want to know a little bit more about it too.
yeah.
So which is cool. I love that.
Yeah, I will show your Facebook page as well, and I will put it in the comments as well, so people can have a look.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah. I
for
do
the for
load.
the
I think we load a video around about a week. I have so many videos, but I just load one a week.
yeah,
On it's at Leon Kluge African plant safaris.
yeah. So it's really nice, and it's really nice to watch, and especially for florists who are watching, you will see so many plants that you didn't even know that they're coming originally from South Africa.
Yeah, Table Mountain. Cool
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
But yeah, so many great flowers, so many great stories. I mean, this should be your, as a florist or as somebody working in the floral industry, this should be your, let's say, homework every weekend, and watch your videos, because then you
Yeah.
learn, and in a fun way as well.
Yeah, exactly. So in South Africa, this is now exciting times. I'm very glad Corona's kind of we are now allowed to go out, because it's springtime, and springtime in South Africa is an abundance of flowers. It's called Namakwaland, and the West Coast is just covered in flowers. So now I have so many places to go. I have a very tight schedule to go and visit this mountain and this stream and this little koppie there. So it's a special time in South Africa.
Yeah,
But I hope with the plants that I put on the videos, that people do learn a lot of things about the plant. And as you say, it's a lot of plants that people use in the floral industry in Europe and North America.
yeah, and that's the nice thing about, I think, South Africa has so many species. So I think you can take those videos for another 300-400 years, because there's
Yeah,
so
for sure.
much going on, and also the way they feed, where they grow. Yeah, one of my favorite flowers, the narine as well.
Oh yes.
That's a great one. You telling about it, it's maybe we can watch a small part of it,
First rains have
just to
fallen
see
here
what's
in
going
the
on.
winter rainfall area
Okay.
of southern Africa, Western Cape. Now, in the winter, the bulbs start for a range of bulb mountains here in the Western Cape. But the first one to arrive is probably the most spectacular and the most famous. And this is the Narines. Now, this specific one that I'm sitting right next to is Narine sarniensis.
Narines are quite
It's
special.
a spectacular
They're quite
narine,
rare.
and probably
We
the
don't
most
see them a
beautiful
lot here.
species you will find.
Where in places like Australia and in Europe, where they're
Yeah.
almost acclimatized and growing everywhere, and because we have all the natural enemies for them here. So for us, it's not an easy thing to grow in your garden, because it gets attacked by so many bugs.
Okay, I remembered when I started working in the floral industry, we sold a lot of flowers to Japan, and when the Narinas came, they were all going to Japan. We were
Yeah.
fighting for it, actually, to get
Yeah.
them as much as possible, because they really like them over there as well. And
Yeah.
all the different colors available. Most of the people only know just the pink one. But here we can see a red one. You've got the white ones.
Yeah. The red one is used extensively to create all of those beautiful bright colors in Europe, or the ones that you buy as cut flowers.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's almost my old neighbor who's doing the breeding in Holland for
Oh,
the
really?
Narines. Yeah, yeah. So it's
Oh, wow.
and it's his life passion, and it's also a man who can talk for hours and hours about Narines. So that's really nice. It was always nice to visit him. On the other hand, you needed to have some time to visit him and to hear all the stories.
I would love to visit him. That's
Yeah,
quite amazing about the Netherlands, really, is because they've taken so many of our plants and just created the most exquisite cut flowers and garden plants out of it. I must say, I'm astounded
yeah.
to see what you've done.
They actually did some crossbreeding with the Narines, so they get bigger flowers, and so that's quite impressive what they are doing there.
Yeah.
What I also was surprised, gladioli, and where they were
Yeah,
growing.
gladiolas, and they are now in full flower, and we have so many different species everywhere. Species that grow in the water, species that grow really dry, cold, hot. We have something for everything. Yeah, so it's a very special plant here in South Africa. And there's also one that's, for us, not easy to grow in our gardens, not because of climate, but because of porcupines. So porcupines
Okay.
love gladiolas, and the porcupines are everywhere. So it's usually a bit tricky for us to get a nice, strong clump going in our gardens.
Yeah, and
Where
this
for
is
you, it's
where,
easy.
yeah, and this is where I thought that you're the plant version of Steve Irwin,
Yeah.
because you just dove in the waterfall and
Oh,
grabbed the flowers.
oh, that was that one. Yeah, I forgot about that one. That's
Yeah,
It was a fantastic one to see, and that is one of the biggest gladiolus flowers you can find, and they only grow in the ice cold clear water in the waterfalls on the verge. Yeah, that's one that the porcupine kind.
oh, something happened. Yeah, we're back again, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, keep on making those movies because I really like them, and the people. If you start watching them, you can't stop. Then you're on a
Oh,
on a
goody.
free day. You will keep on watching it, and yeah. I mean, for me, it's a new source of inspiration and information as well about a lot of varieties. So
Yeah.
that's really great.
And I like talking about the elements surrounding the plant too. So whether it's another plant influencing that plant growing right next door to it, or whether it's an insect, and it's usually a insect that's so vital to that plant's survival, or not just its survival, but its ability to fruit and to it's just it's incredible. Nature astounds me every weekend when I go into the bush. It's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, also the one where you're explaining about the different types of protea with nature's crossbreeding, what happens and what's the difference, and it's
I went
it's really
to
great.
it's up in the mountains here. It's a Protea longifolia, and there they do natural hybrids do happen in that valley, and it's quite astounding to see. You can immediately see that parent and that parent. There was something going on between these two, and you see the children arising and all the new hybrids developing in that valley. And also seeing even the pollinators. I mean, what's so stunning about the proteus is if you stretch it open, there's all these that woolly netting inside, that fluffies. If you stretch it open, you see all of those droplets inside. And to me, that's the most delicious thing going into the bush, because I would just put my finger right in the fluffies and you just lick it. It's like honey. It's so delicious. Yeah, so it's a stunning thing. And is Proteas very popular now in Europe? Is it getting more popular, or
It's getting more popular, yes.
Okay.
And some people don't know what to do with it, but during our shows we show, of course, what you can do with it, and to show it in all its beauty as well. What sometimes you see that people just put a lot of flowers together or expensive flowers together.
Yeah.
But I think flowers need to help each other in a bouquet to stand out.
Exactly.
That's
and
true.
as you say, with the Protea, it's a tricky one because it's such a
Yeah.
strong flower. It's like this big artichoke flower. It's a huge thing, and it's a
Yeah.
heavy plant, a heavy flower too. So to do that beautifully is it's well, if it works out, it's stunning though.
Yeah, actually, one of the designers made a bridal bouquet. He took the center out of the protea and put smaller flowers in it.
Oh wow, okay. Oh,
So
that's
that was,
interesting.
yeah, that
Oh,
was
that's
something I
interesting.
wouldn't come up with, but that's why we have the
No,
designers.
me neither.
Yeah, maybe you think he's destroying the protea, but it was another way
No,
of
it's just another
working it.
way. And
Yeah,
the part that he took out though is it's all the flowers. Protea flowers it consists of hundreds of flowers. And in one of those videos, I showcase how one individual flower looked like, and it actually looks like a feather. So
yeah,
one flower looks like feather. So it's a mash of feathers that give you this village of flowers where all the little insects live inside there.
yeah. I'm quickly trying to find the bouquet actually to show you. Let me see. Yeah, I've got it here. And if the computer will help me as well, then I can show it to you and to the people. No, it's nice, but there are more flowers, of course, where we think like anthurium as well, that we think that the big leaf is the flower, but it isn't.
It's not. No, it's just a modified leaf. And that leaf is just there to, to attract the insect to the center of importance, really.
Yeah,
Oh, there it is. So it's a
yeah,
cineroides with
yeah.
a whole bunch of other flowers. And okay, see, I've never seen that before.
No.
Now, if you see the sides and the sheets on the side, so that's all just modified leaves. And those, because of the strong winds we have in the Cape, it needs all of that, that strong, hard, modified leaves to keep all the flowers intact. Otherwise, they would just blow away.
Yeah,
And it also protects the pollinators because they live inside of the nectar, right deep, right down. And it's all kinds of Kiever centauра beetles
yeah.
inside. And that needs to protect them from all the birds. So, it's a intertwined story.
Okay, yeah, but next time when we have them during a show, I will try to have a taste of the protea as well. Normally, I do it with cymbidium because they give some honey as well, sometimes on the flowers or on the stem. I
Yeah.
dare always the people to taste it as well. Some of them are afraid, but I didn't know the story about the protea, so that's again something nice to tell, and also
That's why it's called the sugar bush.
yeah, that's true.
It's because of all the sugar.
Yeah, wow, great.
And,
I mean,
and you must see all the sugar birds in the veld at the moment. It's just astounding. There are hundreds of them, and it's such a nice sight to see. Love it, love it.
I think it's time for me to book a ticket to South Africa and come. But what if I want to see all those things? What's the best period to come to South Africa?
Now.
Or is it now? Okay.
Yes. So now end of August to mid-September. So I would say maybe mid-August to mid-September. That's your best line. It depends on the rainfall, but if you're the last week of August, first week of September, you're kind of guaranteed to have a very beautiful show.
Okay.
And then there are a few different parts to go to. So you have your succulent flowers, which is all that masses of flowers that stretch out as far as your eye can see. And that's your osteospermums and all of those felicias and things. And then you have your fynbos, which is all your proteas and your leucospermums, leucodendrons, and your gladiolus and watsonias. And they're all flowering, starting to flower now. Some of them are over, some of them are starting. So you do the mountains and you do the deserts, and it's just a show. It's really well worth it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and it's those product leucospermum, the proteas. They try to grow them all over the world, so you have more year-round availability of those flowers as well. And it's very difficult to get them grown as well in other parts of the world.
It's very tricky because they need a specific soil, and they need all the nematodes and little insects that's with the roots. So there's even some fungi that work with the roots, and if you don't have that with your protea or your dendron species, then it won't grow. So it's quite tricky. It's like with rooibos tea, red bush tea. It's the same. That they still struggle to get grown abroad because they don't have those elements in the ground that we have here. But it seems like the proteas are now being grown quite a lot in New Zealand, Australia, and Hawaii. So
Hawaii and the Canary Islands, Spain, and
okay.
some in there's just a small part in Portugal where they grow some leucospermum as well.
Okay.
But that has to do with the climate over there. They've got a microclimate that is more or less like South Africa.
Yeah. And even in South Africa, I mean, we can't really expand a lot in our protea productions because the space where we can grow them here is also, there's not a lot. The Western Cape's not big, and most of it is unreachable mountains. It's very, very, very steep, and it's very windy, so you can't grow it up there. So even here, we're very limited with space to grow more cut flower protea. So it's not something that will ever, I think, be in oversupply.
Okay, yeah, it's yesterday we talked about Protea barbigera that is grown only on one mountain and only on one side of the mountain as well.
Yes,
I mean, if as a florist or as a flower or plant professional, if you can tell your customers those stories, nobody looks at the price, and if they do, they will be surprised with the price, that it's so cheap to get those flowers from the other side of the world, only grown in one particular area, and you can buy it. I mean, that's what we need to tell more.
Yeah, no, it's astounding. And even when we do the Chelsea Flower Show, remember we have a lot of very interesting proteas on that stand. So on the Saturday when the show's over, there's that big bell that they ring, and then everything sale. We at the Chelsea Flower Show is suddenly we become very popular. So we have queues of people standing in that marquee that eyed out some proteas for during the week of the visits. And it's a very popular flower. It's astounding. And like I said, there's such rare things. Some of them only grow in a little valley, hidden away. And that's the only ones that there is. There's no more. And they do sustainable harvesting in that area because we can't grow them on a different site. They just don't want to take. So it's very special, and it's not like a rose, unfortunately. It's a bit more. There's a story to it, right?
yeah, and that's the great thing. I mean, there are great stories about roses as well, of course, but almost all the South African product has such a great history, such a great story behind it, and I can't say it enough. Just go to the Facebook page of Leon and look all those videos, because those stories will make you sell more as well. And tell those stories, and you will sell with more confidence as well. I mean, you know more about the product, you know how much effort it took to harvest them. We can't talk about growing them because most of it is grown just in nature.
Yeah.
So it's really great.
And every year there's some stunning new varieties. I must say, we do have some very good breeders here in South Africa when it comes to fynbos. I've seen some very, very nice ones, but definitely when you're in South Africa, Kirstenbosch is obviously the first garden you need to visit and see, because it's so beautiful. It's mind-boggling. And then tramp the mountains. It's really easy. It's easy access. All the pathways are beautiful, and it's a stunning sight to see.
Okay, so it's in my agenda already for next year. And let's hope I can fly around that time, or that everybody can move freely around the world again. Thank you very much for sharing your passion of flowers and plants. I mean, it's really great talking to you, and I think if we didn't need to work, we could talk for hours and hours more as well about plants. And hopefully next time we can talk more about some of your videos and maybe sharing some of your new projects as well.
That would be great.
Yeah. Is there something?
Like I said, there'll be a new plant every week on the videos, and I promise you'll learn something.
Yeah,
Something
great.
you didn't know.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Is there something you want to add to the people watching?
I just want to say thank you, and I'm happy that you guys are so interested in South African flowers,
Yeah,
and I hope to see you all at the Chelsea Flower Show, which is kind of the European get together.
yeah.
And please come and say hi. We're there every day at our stand, and if you ask nicely, you can get some proteas once we close the stand.
After
So
the bell.
come visit.
Yeah. Okay, Leon, thank you very much for joining. And I promised to show last year's video of the Chelsea Flower Show to wrap this show up.
Okay.
Next week we're going to talk about roses. Also they have a story. Roses from Colombia. So let's hear what's happening over there and hear about their story. So thank you very much for watching. And like I said, we will wrap it up with a really nice video of last year's Chelsea Flower Show. Thank you very much for watching.
Bye. So this is the 2019 Chelsea Flower Show, and this year I'm the designer for Kirstenbosch and Sandovi and their big display here in the Grand Marquis. Now what's this garden all about? It's called Mountains of Abundance. South Africa's mountain ranges, whether it's right in Limpopo, the Drakensberg or in the Western Cape, are full of natural flora that's used all around the world. And I want to show the world where those plants that they buy in their garden centers actually come from. So main mountain range for this garden display was Table Mountain and also some of the mountains around the Western Cape, where we have a massive Proteaceae, Ericas, Restues and cute little bulbs coming through. And that is our main focus for this year's garden. So our category here at the Chelsea Flower Show is floral installations. So this is actually a huge big flower arrangement, but we are allowed to use real plants with roots and cut flowers. A little bit different to some of the other gardens at the show. We have show gardens at the back, which are those huge big ones, which is only real plants, and the fresh gardens on that side. So the design for this garden came about from me looking from my balcony in my apartment onto Table Mountain. And there's quite a distinct line between the fynbos and those tall sandstone crevices up right to the top. Beautiful fine line, and that is what I want to create here. Have those tall long sandstone slabs that we've put on, which is actually made out of Nova board. It's much lighter for transport because we're making everything in South Africa and then shipping and flying it over to London for the show. The silver trees at the back is exactly how it is in Table Mountain. When you go out the cable car, you go through the silver tree forests, the big king proteas, and the rivers. Table Mountain is full of little rivulets and little streams, and that is depicted with these big ndebele hats that I have in the garden. Now the ndebele hats, why? Because I want to create or bring into the garden a more of a cultural aspect. Our culture in Africa is very vibrant and very colorful, and that is where I get that vibrance and color too for my garden. Once arrived here, the plants have been in boxes for over a week, in the dark, in the cold rooms, they are extremely thirsty. So the first thing we do is we cut all the bases of the flowers, put them in buckets in the oasis, and let them drink, 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 so that the flowers slowly start to open when they see the light too. Then we can only start assembling and only assessing what has survived this long journey from Southern Africa to the UK. So our stand this year is called Mountains of Abundance. A stream coming from the mountains has to go somewhere, and it goes usually into the wetlands, into the flays before entering the sea. Now for me personally, some of the most interesting bulbs and grassy little plants grow in those wetlands and lowlands. And that's also what I created here. So we start with the sandy plains of Pringle Bay, Betty's Bay. Now some of the plants that actually grow in those sandy bits we found here, like chinkering cheese, and we found a few different colors too. The restios and then the ericas. Now ericas love those little wetland spots around Pringle Bay and Betty's Bay, and we were so fortunate enough to get them from their actual habitat at the Harold Porter Botanical Gardens. Then it flows up towards the mountains. Now here we have a bit of a combination. So we've got some actual Gauteng plants too, or high Mpumalanga plants, which is the arum lilies, the yellow arum lilies. Last year we used the white ones, this year we're using the yellow ones, which occurs there in Dahlstrom in the highlands and also in the bright sun. Now the yellow is used to just connect with the water features that we have, those Ndebele cultural hats. The Sandby exhibit here at Chelsea is also a very important exhibit. It's the only exhibit really from Africa and portraying African flora. It's also very important for our diversity back at home in developing it, creating more cut flower farms, and so also preserving our natural heritage that we have in the mountains.
Same time again.